What does Gavin Ortland really think about Megan Basham? Well, apparently he thinks she's a, quote, relentless troll. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Enemies Within the Church podcast. You can go to enemieswithinthechurch.com to view the documentary if you haven't already. You can also go to EWTCnews.com to view the continued project, which this podcast is a part of. I'm your host, Kyle Witt, and let's get into this sort of follow-up episode to our previous one, looking at Gavin versus Gavin in the Gavin Ortland versus Megan Basham online dust-up over him being mentioned in Megan's book. We examined Gavin's advice on how to respond to being slandered versus how he responded to his claims of being slandered. Now, we've been given some more information on this, and it helps fill in the picture that we were beginning to paint last time. Now, a lot of people aren't going to be happy with the fact that this is still not an examination of Gavin's specific claims. Originally, we weren't going to do one of those here because other people were taking care of it. Upon being asked multiple times, I did look, and I don't think someone has covered it quite the way that we like to cover things here. So we do want to look at it. But we are waiting on Megan to provide her response before we jump into things. We want to have both of those out there so we can really give a full overview of the situation. But there are some interesting things that have come up. Like I said, we've been given information about Gavin's true opinions of Megan. What does he think of her? And apparently he thinks that she is a relentless troll. So what are we looking at right now? If you're watching on video, there's going to be screenshots up. If you're listening to the audio, again, I'm going to describe everything for you, but just let you know. Apparently, there is a Discord server where something like over 1,000 people. And so, not just a few people. It's not like it's a private conversation group or something like that. Someone corrected me on this, so I'm going to try and be as specific as I understand and am aware. It's not owned by Gavin, but Gavin is the face of the server, and it really does seem to revolve around him. He's sort of the central figure. But you can see here on the screen, Gavin was asked a question. This is 2 years ago. 2 years ago. Or more towards the end of 2022. November of 2022. He was asked a question, how would you deal with persistent public misrepresentations of your position? Then the person goes on to ask a full question off that, lots of details. It's not about Megan. But Gavin responds with, his first point is, I try to keep everything off Twitter, which is a terrible medium. So first, this goes into what I was talking about last time. He's not following his own advice. He did take it onto Twitter. But down to his point number 5, over time, you get a sense of who is good faith and who isn't. I personally don't think Megan Basham is at all. I think she's a relentless troll. Interesting. So it seems multiple people commented on the last podcast about how they suspect that Megan included Gavin because she's held a grudge over the past couple years since they had a spat on Twitter in 2022. It appears that there's confirmation that Gavin is the one that might have a little bit of a grudge after that. But let's continue looking at more information. So it's going off that same exchange from everything that I was given. Responding to point number 5 of Gavin's, the person says, people definitely have their wheelhouse. Megan Basham is fine in the political arena, but like so many in politics, is woefully lacking in theology. Gavin responds to that. One thing, just to clarify on my end, I couldn't agree Megan is fine in the political arena. It's usually her comments in that arena that concern me the most, even though I'm more conservative than not. Now, the whole I'm more conservative than not is kind of a weird statement, but we're focusing in on the part about Megan. the person is charitable enough to say, hey, she has her wheelhouse. She has her place where she's acceptable. And Gavin, after already saying she's a relentless troll, clarifies that he's doesn't see any value in what she does in any place. So that's fascinating, and it establishes a picture. Begins to establish a picture of how Gavin views Megan. Let's continue on a little bit and keep building this picture. And for once, this actually is going to be a quick episode because this is not a full podcast. But they pinged the members of the server to share that they have to share a thumbnail for Gavin's recent video, saying that there might be some knee-jerk reactions. The person then pings Gavin and says, I can only imagine the field day Megan Basham will have with this one. Gavin's response is, oh, wow, I didn't even consider that. He's using the term to critique modern critical theories from a biblical standpoint to clarify well and other aspects of culture as well. I would have thought that using the Bible to develop a critical theory of culture. Now, you can't do that. Critical theory is its own thing. You can't just. That sentence just hurts my brain for a few reasons. But would have thought using the Bible to develop a critical theory of culture would be something even someone like Megan Basham could agree to. This is in 2023. So you can see there's this theme starting to be developed of, one, an adversarial relationship between Gavin and Megan. He views her in an adversarial light. She's a relentless troll. She has nothing positive to bring. And she is a person to bring up as just someone who's just going to disagree, who's going to be bring knee-jerk reactions, who's going to have a field day with thumbnails to videos. This is interesting. Now, we're primarily going to move away from Gavin's specific comments, and we're going to move into looking at kind of the server as a whole. But I want to create a delineation here. I want to create a point of delineation. Those are Gavin's comments. Those are the things we're most concerned about. It shows that Gavin has an adversarial view of Megan. That his defenses, which rely on this predominantly, I would say, especially, again, some of his Twitter interactions in particular, rely on him being the bigger person. Yet, behind the scenes, he's calling her a relentless troll. He's saying she has nothing to bring to the table, and that she doesn't have a wheelhouse. She doesn't have something she's good at when it comes to her commentary, and that she's someone to bring up as, oh, she's going to have a knee-jerk reaction, haha, type thing. So it's interesting to me. That does not seem like a healthy starting point for the type of criticism that Gavin then tried to bring, which is very just neutral and analytical. It seems that he is bringing baggage. Now, he could resolve that by actually talking with Megan. Now, you can say, oh, well, Megan didn't talk with him. Yes, but again, he's established before that that's what you should do when you're slandered. Go straight to the person. There's also been an expressed willingness to engage. There's also been an expression of providing a response to his points. But he's rejected those, and he has since gone on to YouTube videos, interviews of Megan's, to try and get the poster of the interview to take it down. So it's been developing. He's produced another response video. Now, what is this server? So let's read a little bit of the description of the server. Hello, friends. Welcome to Striving Side by Side, an online ministry designed to help Protestants struggling with difficult questions around the Roman Catholic and Eastern Orthodox faiths. So it's a server specifically about answering questions that Protestants have, or doubts, however you want to put it, about Roman Catholicism and Eastern Orthodox. So it's a very particular server. Now, if it's just Gavin is in there and he's bringing these things up, that's one thing. But again, Gavin is a central figure of this server. is not Gavin owned, but it would not be inappropriate from everything I've seen to call it a Gavin server, as in he is the central figure. Um, Now, I'm sure if someone from the server wants to talk with me about it, not yell at me, but talk with me about it, I'd definitely be willing to hear some clarifications of the specifics of the server. But again, it has a specific purpose. So why in that specific purpose are they doing things like pinging the members, again, over 1,000 people, pinging the members to post something completely off topic, which is Gavin's responses to Megan. They even go as far as to turn one of Gavin's thumbnails into an emoji for the server, and they start a thread on the server for Megan's book. Again, this doesn't seem to have any place in that ministry, especially if the ministry is, as one person tried to kind of communicate, is not actually directly a part of Gavin. Is a separate thing. Again, I don't think so. I don't think it's a completely separate thing. They did admit that he was the spokesperson of it, but seems to be slightly more integration functionally at the minimum. And things like this help emphasize that. Why would you go so far off topic in this sort of way? It seems like the inappropriate place at the minimum. So now we're going to be looking a little bit at just kind of the culture of the server when it comes to Megan. And again, Gavin is not directly responsible for every word that someone says, but you can see his adversarial stance towards Megan. You can see it rubbing off on people in the server. That's the point we're establishing now. And it's going to help answer some questions like, why are there review bombs? Why are there so many comments from Gavin supporters on specific videos, including what we can see here, a screenshot. You have Alicia Childers of posted a comment under her video interviewing Megan because it was starting to get comments on it. And within 13 minutes, that comment is screenshot, put on the server, just wow. And someone says, I met Alyssa once, skull emoji. This might answer, it doesn't fully answer, but it might answer a little bit about why there has been such, when they're doing stuff like this, it answers a little bit why there's so many comments underneath that sort of just uncritically defending Gavin. And I want to separate something for anyone that's putting it out there. There's a difference between uncritically and defending and actually providing some reasoned defense. I have seen people trying to give reasoned defense. Those are definitely worth answering, but there have been a lot of uncritical people, and we're going to see some of that. Like this. Her first name kind of fits. Megan Bash. Always bashing people. Laughing emoji. Yeah, this is called uncritical defense. This is probably not the most appropriate thing. Does that define everyone there? No. But again, we're just establishing a picture. There's a bit of a culture of haha Megan. Megan's kind of a punching bag. So we see someone here saying, I know I'm not changing your mind on any of this, just saying my piece here so it doesn't become an echo chamber. Someone providing a little bit of pushback on some of Gavin's claims. They're responded to with someone saying, I get where you're coming from, but I'm saying don't defend her. Oof. That's, again, talk about uncritical. This person does go on to say, if she is to be cleared of any accusations, her promised response will do that. Why? So they're defending Gavin. This is in the midst of defending Gavin, but no one is allowed to defend her. That seems a little bit weird. But as of right now, all of her actions and her own words and reactions to it all do not point towards anything good. So this is very much a guilty until proven innocent, whereas they're applying innocent until proven guilty with Gavin. Double standard, and it seems to point to a culture there. Someone also says, you can buy it and let us know. I ain't spending my money on trash. People that are defending Gavin and then admitting, yeah, but I haven't even read the book. It seems kind of critical. If you're going to critically defend Gavin, you need to know the content, that first chapter in particular, that he is going over. You need to have the full context to understand it. Speaking in this sort of way, now, I don't care if you're leaning towards one side or the other, but if you're going to just say one side can't be defended, the other side is assumed innocent, that's problematic. If you don't doubt me that people are behaving that way, go to the YouTube version of the podcast, go to the previous episode, and look at some of the comments. We see here, again, someone posting one of Gavin's response videos saying the people slandering him are an open sin and must be called out to repent. Now, last time I talked about one of the points Gavin put out about responding to slander was don't respond too quickly. Multiple people on the previous episode commented that he didn't respond too quickly. He responded the morning after. He said he started reading it in the evening, and then the next day he posted a video. That's pretty quickly, and even his supporters agree. So he has reason to respond quickly. But the important thing here is this comment. I have a theory that books like this are going to cause young believers to leave the faith en masse. It's the only reason I would leave. So much insanity and hysteria. Now, I have a question. Would you consider that a sensational comment? I know I would consider that a sensational comment. Excuse me. So I find it, again, very, very kind of hypocritical, but it's definitely pointing out a very negative view towards Basham. We see here, 2023, posting a meme about Basham. We see here, 2023, oh yeah, this whole fiasco was not a good look for Megan. They're just discussing Megan more. I don't even know who she is other than seeing her name in the server, to be honest. I pay zero attention to politics. That's a concerning statement. Again, we're not making a broad judgment on everyone there, but we're seeing certain patterns, and we're seeing indications that people aren't willing to even entertain her side of things, that she is guilty until proven innocent. They're not even willing to examine any more of the book to test Gavin. But here we're seeing people saying, yeah, I don't even know who she is, besides her being mentioned so often on this server. That's a bit of a concerning pattern. Again, 2023, I think someone named Megan. The only thing I remember is Megan Basham. And then someone posts a tweet from Megan where she's responding to Gavin. Again, a bit of a pattern. Here's a post from right after the book was published. TLDR, a political / evangelical commentator wrote a book exposing, question mark, various individuals in the evangelical camp, Baptist and also Presbyterian, that she deems woke or too progressive, including Tim Keller. Have not read the book, but talk around it blew up, at least in my timeline. It's all very aggressive and maligning. Sort of sad to think about non-believers on the outside looking in. Oh, that book by Megan Basham. My mom got it. I didn't even have to read too much of what Redacted said. I could guess that it was Megan. So something was negative enough that it was associated immediately with Megan. Again, there's a bit of a culture going on here. I'm honestly grieved by this whole situation with Basham and Gavin. It's so sad to see a good faith effort to resolve the conflict. Was that Gavin's intent? Now we have a specific intent ascribed to Gavin of presenting a good faith effort When Megan said, I'm going to provide a response, Gavin then said, well, I don't see you as someone who's honest, so I'm not going to respond to you. That does not seem like a good faith effort. He didn't go directly to her like he said he should have in a slander situation. It's so sad to see good faith effort to resolve the conflict and a person like Megan take no interest in honest dialogue, but rather promoting a political agenda and protecting her public image. It's very interesting because it's the exact accusation that many are leveling against Gavin. It would be good for them to get together and talk. And I've seen that offer be put out there. People willing to facilitate, people willing to do other things. We're willing here. Gavin wants to come on. We'll bring him on. We'll try and get Megan on. I'd love to have the two of them on. If not both, I'd love to have Gavin on. We've talked about him enough now that I really would be up for him coming on. That's one of the promises here. If you're ever mentioned on the podcast or on the website, that's an open invitation to provide a written statement, to contact us behind the scenes and just talk, to be on the podcast. Open invitation, however you want to communicate, open invitation. We're always willing to hear that. We see someone say, she strikes me as a person who is conservative first and a Christian second, unfortunately. And since climate change goes against the conservative narrative, and then it trails off, she strikes me as the person I might walk in on my mom watching on Facebook Live. This is not a compliment. There's some toxicity. Now, I've been around Discord. I've ran a Christian server there. I think there's benefit there, but there is a lot of toxicity. There's a lot of negative stereotypes around Reddit, and it becoming sort of a echo chamber of toxicity. Discord very much has many of the same problems, and you can see this is one of the frustrations in running a server there. Is it's really hard to manage things. Things get out of control, but you set the direction, you set the course, and you have to provide an example of things, and you have to be willing to moderate things. We can see that there's a broad culture. We're seeing many examples, not just one. We can see someone posted an article from Not the Bee about Megan Basham. And someone says, so Gavin is now a climate hysteric. Another comments, well, time to unfollow the Babylon Bee. Another responds, tragic. I actually liked them. Me too, man. Of all the people who I would have hoped to cast a critical eye on this. I guess my prediction that we are going to see mass polarization within inter-Nicene Christianity is coming true quicker than I thought. So that's the level they're at. Anyone mentions Megan Basham positively, unfollowed. We see someone post article from the Dispatch about Megan Basham and Shepherds for Sale. They say, plus one person on our side. This guy seems to be much better informed than I. This article already has a redaction on it, and there's been clearly presented errors where he says, Megan did, I talked to all these people, doesn't give examples, and none of them were contacted by Megan. Then Megan provided the emails of reaching out to people. And similar things of that nature. Says that he reached out to Megan for an interview and she didn't respond to him. Then she posts their exchange. She did. So very, again, uncritical. So what are we to make of all of this? Like I said, the first parts about Gavin specifically show that he has an adversarial view of Megan. But the second parts show that in a server that he represents and to some degree is a critical figure of and a leader of, if not an owner and or administrator, whatever that relationship is, he is a direct influence in the server, key and important figure, and a figurehead for it. Set this adversarial tone and you can see people running with it. And not just now, but over time. That's concerning. That's very concerning. Now, does this mean that Gavin's claims are suddenly wrong simply because he's coming from a wrong motivation? No. Unfortunately, the majority of the people standing behind Gavin that I've seen are taking an uncritical stance. Again, you could go look on the previous YouTube of the previous podcast, and you'll see a lot of people just jumping on. One person even just flat out saying, if you know Gavin, you don't even need to examine this. You know that it's wrong for him to be mentioned at all. There is something really wrong with this situation. Like I said, we're going to be diving deeper into the details of it, but we're letting the actual information come out. What we're seeing from Gavin's side in particular is tribalism. Now, does that mean there isn't tribalism on both sides? No, it doesn't. There are people that are uncritically supporting Megan as well. That's wrong. I don't want to see that happening on my side. I don't want to see that happening on someone else's side. Now, I'm not saying my side. We're talking about a situation of Megan's side, Gavin's side. I'm saying in general, if I'm involved in a situation, I have a side in it. I don't want to see people uncritically support me because that causes big problems. But I've also seen a lot of people challenging things on Megan's side and trying to provide evidence and receipts of things, whereas Gavin's side has produced review bombing and comments on videos and a lot of. I've been trying. I genuinely want to have a discussion with people. I want to have discussions. I want to have a discussion about this current situation we're talking about right now, about his comments behind the scenes and the sort of character of that Discord server. I want to have a conversation about that. Not, well, over here. No. This specifically. What's going on here? What do we make of it? I want to have a conversation about Gavin versus Gavin. What do his words about how to respond to slander versus how he's responding, how do they line up? Frankly, I think we saw the answer of how they line up, and I think that first screenshot shows it. He has a Megan Basham exception because he's defined her as someone who's a relentless troll. That doesn't seem like honest pushback to me. That seems like he's. It doesn't seem honest. So I want to have a conversation about that. I also want to have a conversation about the details. If you think Gavin's right on the details of his accusation, then provide the receipts for it. Like I said, we're going to be going deeper and deeper into it. I want to give Megan that chance to respond, but we got to talk about the details. We got to talk about the facts, the verifiable things, and not just minutia. Now, I know someone's going to say, "Oh, well, that's all you're doing here," but no, these are important things. Why is Gavin acting in a hypocritical manner? Why is Gavin talking different behind the scenes than in person? He needs to address this openly and honestly, and because right now the picture I've been getting is dishonesty, is ulterior motive, is not what he said. The purpose of responding to slander is to win your brother. In this circumstance, I think it's really clear he's not trying to win his sister. This isn't the honest engagement that people keep just ad nauseum saying it is on Gavin's side. This is someone that's responding to someone else as if they're a relentless troll. That he doesn't have to give that person the time of day, so he's not. He drops responses out there, asks for videos to be taken down, but he's not engaging with her directly because he said, "Oh, essentially, I don't like the way you're responding." Well, I can tell you as someone who faces criticism, you don't get to define how your criticism comes. You don't. You don't get to define that. It's going to come however it's going to come. And it's up to you to choose how to respond to that. This is in Gavin's wheelhouse, not someone else's. He doesn't get to say, oh, well, because you. If it's worth responding to, it's worth responding to right. I don't think Gavin's responded to it right, and I think he's shown himself to be a pretty big hypocrite in this. Those are important things to keep in mind when we're looking at his response, because if he's willing to be a hypocrite, can we take his criticisms at face value? I'd like to hear your thoughts on things. I really do. I really honestly do. So let me know what you think. And until next time, God bless you and don't go woke.